Hey guys, I'm Matt, and welcome to A Quest for the Perfect Build. On this channel, I'm going to take my love of building and tinkering and designing and try to bring those things to life. As the channel name suggests, I'm always on the quest for that perfect build, but I'm no expert and I'm not a professional. I'm just a guy that likes to build things, but I'm always trying to reach perfection. I know I'll never get there, but I'd love to bring you guys along with me on the journey to try to get close. This video is going to be one in a series where I take actual paper architectural plans and 3D model them in SketchUp and then 3D print them and build a 3D model. But let me give you some background first. My dad was an architect in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and the early 90s. He passed away a few years ago, and following his passing, I gathered all of his architectural plans and I've stored them to keep them safe. Fast forward a couple of years ago, I was given a gift that I think changed my life, a 3D printer. I had no idea what I was going to do with the 3D printer. I didn't know anything about 3D printing, but after doing some research and after printing some pretty silly things, I was hooked. So in this video, I'm going to take one of my dad's residential home designs and 3D model it and 3D print it. All right, guys, we're going to jump right into it. The first step in the process is looking at the architectural plans and looking at the different renderings or the different elevations that I have. This house is a 2-story, 3-bedroom with a living room, dining room, kitchen, and a detached garage. The total square footage equals 3,200 square feet. I have these two elevations. One is a side elevation and one is a front elevation. And you'll notice there's some pretty unique elements to it, like the roof line cutout. There's one on the side and one on the front. It's pretty unique. On this view, this is the floor plan view. That's the main house right there in that dark brown color. But also it has a detached garage, and I show that there in blue. But what is also unique about this house is the roof line is one roof other than the 2-story top element, but it's one continuous roof on that first floor. Also, there is a garden fence in the front courtyard, and I show that right there. One thing I do want to tell you guys is I will be making some adjustments and taking some creative license with the designs. Obviously, I don't know what colors my dad would have chosen, so I'm going to be making up my own colors. Also, a lot of the siding and the roofing details will not make it into my 3D model, just simply because when I size everything down in order to fit into my 3D printer, that detail basically disappears. I've tried this in the past, and while it works on some instances, others it just really doesn't. I'll make some other small adjustments just based on personal preference. The 3D model at the end of the video will be inspired by or a representation of this house that was designed. Step 2 of my process is 3D modeling the home in SketchUp. I did not record every step of this, but I will be showing you the different components and how I design them and put them together. I first lay out my floor plan, and then I will make the walls 3-dimensional. Next, I'll add windows. I follow pretty closely the architectural plans, but sometimes if I don't have side elevations, like in this case, I will have to use my best guesstimate. I will also add any external facing doors and garage doors. The next step in the process is to build out my different roof elements. This is helpful after you have done your walls, built them, and raised them up into 3 dimensions, because you can use your roof pitch to cut the wall line and get the top of the walls to be the angles that you want that fit the roof pitch. Once I have the structure designed, including the walls and the roof line, I will create a foundation. On the top of the foundation, I will raise a section that outlines where the house sits, where the walls are. So that helps me line up the house when I'm gluing the house down onto the foundation during assembly. The last step, I'll add things like the chimney, or in this case, there's the decorative garden fence that is in the front courtyard. And here is the 3D model complete in SketchUp. In this next step, I prepare the 3D model in SketchUp to be printed. This is a crucial point in the project because you need to figure out what pieces need to be printed separately versus what pieces can be printed all at once. The method by which I do that is, if I want certain pieces to be the same color, it's more efficient to print them together. Your print job is one color as opposed to multiple colors in one print job. Another element that comes into play here is the size of the item. You may have to separate different pieces so they fit on the print bed. Here I'm showing how I'm separating the different parts into printable files. The next step in prepping for printing is to bring those files individually out of SketchUp and bring them into the 3D printer software. You can see that some of these parts have what look like trees that are growing in the windows or the door openings. Well, that's because 3D printers cannot print in midair. Anytime you have a part that you're printing on a horizontal that has nothing underneath it, it needs to build something to support it. There are a lot of steps involved in getting the correct configuration in the 3D printer software, such as choosing the right printing temperatures, whether or not the supports are needed. This is where you make or break your print in the printer software, making sure your configurations are correct. All right, the next step in the process is the 3D printing, the fun part. So I use a Bamboo Lab P1S 3D printer. It's been a great printer. It's just over a year old. I've had little to no issues with it, but it also has a camera inside, which allows us to take time-lapse video. I'll let you guys watch some of the parts being printed. Also pay attention, one of the time-lapse videos will show what might have turned out to be a catastrophe and a failed print, but actually it turned out okay without any issues. Okay, then the final step, which is the most nerve-wracking, which is the assembly. You'll see here I'm test fitting some pieces. Another important thing that you have to pay attention to when setting up your files in SketchUp and getting them ready for printing is if you have window frames or you have doors or you have garage doors, things that are going to fit tightly within another element, like window frames are going to fit into the openings in the walls. If you just print them at full size, the print tolerances are too tight. So you must reduce the size of the different window frames or the doors by a minute amount in order for them to fit correctly. Otherwise, you'll be sanding and shaping the opening and trying to push them in and make them fit. In this print, I was pretty lucky in the fact that my window frames are fitting pretty snugly into the openings, so they're pressure fitting really nicely, which means I don't have to use as much glue. I use glue a lot, but if you're using it around the windows and the glass for the windows, it can look messy. Here you can see that there are a couple of places where the tolerances were just a little too tight and the windows weren't fitting in correctly, so I had to grab my file and do a little adjustment. This next part, I'm testing something for the first time. Printing windows or clear filament to look like windows and be as clear as windows are has been a challenge for me. I've tried many different ways, many different file settings, and nothing has really worked for me. One thing I tried once was clear acetate sheets, cutting them to size and gluing them to the inside of the window frames, but the glue seemed to always leave a residue or have a reaction that leaves a mark on the window, so it doesn't look that clean. In this case, I found some double-sided stickers that are clear, and I'm going to try using the adhesive on the sticker to be a replacement for the glue. After I'm done with all the windows and the doors, I will move on to putting the different structures down onto the foundation. And then finally, after that, I will line up and glue the different roof pieces together and fix them to the structure. I noticed this while doing the editing for this video. There were some points where I was using the glue when I was putting the roof pieces on, and I was a little careless. The glue string, if you will, that sometimes happens when you're pulling the glue bottle away, left some swirl marks on one of the roof pieces. I had no idea I did that, but it was so minute. But that's something I need to pay attention to so that I could avoid that in the future. Alright guys, here we have it. There's the final build. I'm really happy with how this turned out. This is probably one of the best ones I've done. The windows using those double-sided clear stickers really worked well. I really like that method of not having to use the glue around the windows. There are a few things I think I could do better. Aligning the roof pieces together, I could get better at that. Being more careful with the glue so that it doesn't leave marks on the roof. That's another thing that I can improve on. Is this a perfect build? It's pretty close, but it's not all the way there. But I really do think it turned out great. Let me know what you think, guys. Let me know what you think about the colors I chose for the different pieces. Let me know if you think I should have done more of the interior. That is something I want to do more of, get more detailed in the interior. Let me know if you saw any other mistakes. Love to hear your comments. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to the channel. That helps me out a lot. It's free, no obligation. Just hit that red subscribe button. I'll see you on the next build.